Who's got Joshua? All right. Brother Stephen, you're the most enthusiastic reader at the moment. So why don't you read verse 1 through 6 for us, and then we're going to go to Nehemiah. You can go to Nehemiah. Go to Nehemiah and get ready. We're going to jump off in the deep end. So go ahead, Brother Stephen. As we do that, as he reads, he's going to read 1 through 6. Does anybody want to get a picture of this? Do you want this for any reason? Because it's going to be erased. Eventually. All right? Go ahead and get a picture. Not of me. Let me get out of that. You can go ahead.
After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass, the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all these people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses.
Okay, hang on right there. Every place that you step, so every step that you take on this land, have I given unto you, as I did to your daddy Moses. Now he's giving Joshua multiple things here. You're going to go ahead and read through verse 6. There's a point, of course, to what I'm doing. But he is doing multiple things with Joshua as he opens up the book of Joshua. Moses is gone. Now who's going to lead the Israelites?
Yeah.
Joshua's going to lead them. And this has nothing to do with this guy and what's going on here. I want to get to one word, and then we're going to jump off into Nehemiah. But he's given him instructions, encouragement, and he's given him words that he's going to need for the journey. You try leading 6 million people, as Pastor used to say, on a camping trip, and they don't really want to go. I can't imagine the complaining and the whining, and that's why they walked round and round and round in the wilderness for decade after decade after decade, because they complained and whined, even when he showed up and took care of them. So go ahead, Brother Stephen.
From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun shall be your coast.
As far as you can see, keep going.
There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life, as I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee.
Now, why did he tell him that? Why did he remind him, as I was with Moses, I will be with you? What has transpired throughout Joshua's life? He was Moses' right-hand guy, along with Aaron. Those two guys held up Moses' arms when the Israelites went into battle. See, we're going to study Nehemiah tonight. And I was thinking it just goes simply back to what we talked about before. When they listened to God's voice and did what he said to do, they had victory. When they didn't, when they rebelled, they lost. When they had victory, they were free. And when they lost, they were in bondage. So that's just the simplicity of the whole story. Now, that sounds good, but it takes something to click inside of us for us to truly get free. So go ahead before I'm going to get ahead of myself if I keep talking.
Be strong and of a good courage.
Yes.
For unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance the land, which I swear unto the fathers to give them.
Be strong and of a good courage. Courage, that's the word I'm trying to get to. For unto this people shall you divide for an inheritance the land which I swear unto their fathers to give them. Who are their fathers? Those that had gone on before them. See, the promise was still there. And he said, you're the guy in charge now. You're the guy that's going to lead them. And in order to do that, you're going to have to be strong and you're going to have courage. And he says that 4 times in Joshua 1. He says you're going to have to really be courageous. You're going to have to really be strong, because you are going to go and you're going to lead people into their inheritance. So what is it going to take? I'm wiping out all the liabilities. That's barely spelled courage because I've wiped away some of it. All the liabilities, and we have one asset here. That does say courage. Let's just wipe it and start over. We had assets and liabilities on this Sunday night, as led by Brother Joshua. And it's going to take courage to get to that inheritance. Something snapped inside of me last week. Now, usually when you say that, people think that's not a good day. Because when somebody snaps, usually what happens? Something crazy, chaotic, insane happens. Meltdown. That's usually what we equate that with when somebody snaps. But when something snaps inside of you, when something clicks, when there's deliverance inside of you, when the Spirit of God moves inside of you and changes your perspective, your attitude, your outlook, whatever the word is, then that can be a good snap inside of you. So our little family that lives over 7 minutes from here is about to go through another transition. We're about to go through another transformation. About a year and a half ago, one of our little birdies, her wings had gotten strong enough that she flew out of the nest. Now, the little birdie still knows how to come back home. The little birdie still has the key to the house. The little birdie still has our phone numbers. So the little birdie is still nearby. But the little birdie has flown the nest and has full access to come back home anytime she wants until I change the locks. Which I've said when they're both gone, I'm going to change the locks and they're going to have to call ahead. I think it's 1 against 3 in that one, but I don't think Mama's quite there yet. I'd probably still give them the key to get back in, to be honest with you. But there's another little birdie whose wings are being strengthened. And that little birdie is about to go through a transition herself. So it's hard to explain. There was a scenario that played out last week, and something snapped, clicked inside of me with that situation. And I've gone from it just being, what in the world are we going to do, to I am completely excited to see what's going to happen. Here's the deal. Sometimes there are things in your life that appear so big to you, you can't even sit there and try to figure it out yourself. 99.9% of the time, we think we got it figured out. Is that a pretty good percentage? 99.9. Then that 0.1, we'll sit there on the edge of the bed, the couch, or up here and go, oh, I don't know how this one's going to play out. I might think I do. But something snapped and I got really excited. So we're going to see what happens. Because on the other side of this, where we are today, is a vision for a young lady that is bright, that is huge, and that's going to be amazing. So the next step in that path, I think I might know what it is, but maybe I don't. But I'm looking way beyond where we are today to a beautiful life and a great vision. Now, that takes the Spirit of God inside of a person to break off any trepidation. It's my SAT word for the day. Concern, worry, a heaviness that we will carry in life. And we can carry heaviness for many, many reasons, and I'm not talking about too many mochas from Starbucks. So, who's got Nehemiah? So we've established that we have to have courage to move forward, to lead, etc. The reason we're going to go to Nehemiah is this word courage clicked with me Sunday night when you were teaching Brother Josh. But then Monday night, I don't know what it was, but well, I know who it was, but I don't know what brought this home, but I heard build the wall. And I said, build the wall. I don't know where that is. Let's go read some of Nehemiah. So Brother Tommy, you got Nehemiah, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go actually from Nehemiah 1 to 6. We're not going to read it all, so y'all can go ahead and say, thank God. But read Nehemiah 1 through 11, and you know I'm going to interrupt you.
And for the words of Nehemiah, the son of Azariah, it came to pass in the month of Chisleu in the 20th year as I was in Shushan.
There you go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you. Shushan, if you're going to look it up, at least this reference says look up Susa. And Susa means lily. I didn't print off my sheet. I was going to tell you about lilies. But I can tell you that lilies have 3 petals surrounded by 3 sepals. And they come in different colors and fragrances. Now, why is that important? Why the number 3? Number 3 represents what?
Yeah.
Resurrection. Jesus. Living a resurrected life. Well, why 3 in a 3? Because of will and a will. Because of him and us and him. So where is Nehemiah? He's in the palace of Shushan, of Lily. He's in the palace. What is a palace? Who lives in a palace? A king. Royalty lives in a palace. Well, what about this month, Chisleu? So I'm like, what is up with Chisleu? So I went and I looked it up, of course, when I had a little bit of time. So this is Chisleu, and this is why I brought out, I wanted to look like a theologian. So I brought the 10-pound book out of the office, rather than just writing the statement. The month Chisleu, the name of the 3rd civil or 9th ecclesiastical month adopted from the Babylonians after the captivity, meaning the captivity of the Israelites. So here's this guy, Nehemiah, who's living in their time, not under his kingdom. Why, again, why do the Israelites, why are they in captivity? I said it earlier. Huh? Disobedience. All right? So they are captives because of disobedience. It's going to give you, I'll just say it. Also, what kept them in captivity? I said it earlier, we've talked about it before. Complaining. Murmuring. Man, are you murmuring over there? Speak up. Look at those things. Disobedience, I'm not going to listen. And then complaining all day long about life. I'm glad none of us do that. Thank God we don't do that. Thank God none of us do that. Thank you. None of us. But where does Nehemiah find himself? And we're going to find out Nehemiah loves God. Nehemiah fears God. But where's Nehemiah? Because of his leadership, he's in captivity. Because of what the masses did, because they wouldn't follow, they're in captivity. Disobedience, complaining, and murmuring. All right, Brother Tommy. We've made it through one verse. We got to move forward.
Then,
yeah, hey, good luck with the names. You're going to do a great job. No, you're doing a great job.
Anani, one of the brethren, came, he and certain men of Judea, and asked him concerning the Jews that had escaped, which was left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. They said unto me, women that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burnt with fire. And it came to pass when I heard these words that I sit down and wept. And in mourning certain days and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven. And said, I beseech thee, O Lord, God of heaven, the great and terrible God, that keepeth covenant and mercy for them that love him and observe his commandments.
So let's stop right there real quick and let's bring correction to at least one word here, or understanding or perspective, I should say. So first of all, what is Nehemiah doing? He's asking about what? Jerusalem. He's asking not only about Jerusalem, he's asking about the people of Jerusalem, because Nehemiah is a leader in and of himself, and he cares about the people. He also loves his God, fears his God, and we're going to see he knows that his fathers, and he'll take blame himself, have not done what God told them to do, and that's why they're in the shape that they're in. That word terrible does not mean what's been preached to most of us in the Baptist and other churches. It doesn't mean that he's a terrible God. It means that he's majestic, that he is all-sung, he's all-inspiring. He is to be revered and honored and respected. Not terrible as if he is a God of wrath and he's mad at us, because he's not mad at us. When our youngest little bird was in the hospital, for those 50 days, I stood in ICU with my arms crossed, and I was looking down at her, and she was, when it was, it seemed like we were there for years. It was days and weeks. But I looked down at her, and I still have the pictures. I took some hard pictures during that time, so that later she would have pictures to show when she spoke and tells her testimony. The pictures, like anything, don't really do the situation justice, but I tried to get pictures of her laying there, and tubes everywhere, and all the machinery behind her and around her, and they've got her heavily, heavily sedated. She's out. And I stood there and I looked at her, and I just stared at her with a deep love. And I started thinking about the Word. And I started thinking about our message. First of all, this message has sustained the 4 people that live under my roof. That's why I have a passion for this ministry, for this message, and for everyone that's here. So don't mistake my passion, as Pastor would say, for being mad or being judgmental or coming down on people or any of that. It's a passion for life. And it's been born through circumstances and experiences in life. But I looked down at her and I stared at her, and I thought to myself, me being her father, if I could just reach down, touch her and fix everything, I would. Now we know the scripture, if your father's being evil, give good gifts, how much greater will the Lord give you not good gifts? Actually, one scripture says the Holy Ghost, because the Holy Spirit is the key to everything. But I stood there and I watched her in a moment. My own intimacy in that setting. Ginger was probably over there wrapped up in 4 blankets, and with her head down, sitting next to her bed, sleeping. It was about 50 degrees in that room, and the air blew right on the 2 sides of the bed, especially one where we stood and sat next to her, right, Haley? So I'm thinking through this, and if I, being her father, her natural, her earthly father, if I could just flip the switch and take all this away, how much more does the Heavenly Father love us? So how can he be mad? If I could not get mad with her and hold a grudge, why would he withhold his healing? Why would he withhold his love? He doesn't. That's why Jesus said in Luke, he said, before me it was the prophets. Before me it was the law. Now it's the kingdom, the Holy Spirit. But he said the kingdom, now it's the kingdom, and every man presses into it. So we press into him for answers. That's why I could stand in front of millions of people and say, you've been told wrong. I had this experience, a real life experience. If I could reach down and fix everything my little girl was going through, I would have done it. So don't tell me that God, that knows and is a deeper love than I've experienced yet, would withhold anything from any of us, because he won't. Where were we? See? Go ahead.
Let the ear now hear, be attentive, and your eyes open, that I may hear the prayer of the servant. I pray before thee now, day and night, to the children of Israel, my servants, and confess the sins of the children of Israel, which we have sinned against thee, both I and my father's house have sinned. We have dealt very corruptly against thee, and have not kept the commandments, nor the statutes, nor the judgment which thou hast commanded thy servant Moses. Remember, I beseech thee, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, if you transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. And if you turn unto me and keep my commandments and do them, that there will of you cast out unto the uttermost parts of heaven. Yet I will gather them from thence, and I will bring them into the place that I have chosen to set my name there. Now these are the servants of the people which thou hast redeemed by the great power and by the strong hand. O Lord, I beseech thee, let not thy hand ear be attentive to the prayer of a servant, and to the prayer of a servant who desires to fear thy name and prosper. I pray thee, thy servant, this day, and I will grant him mercy in the sight of this man. Why was the king's cup buried?
So we find Nehemiah, he's inquiring of his brother in the state of the city of Jerusalem. And when he hears the state that it's in, he knows what? He knows it's not supposed to be like this. Why else would he weep and lament and go to the Lord? And what does he do? He reminds God of God's own words. And he said, you said this, if you'll turn to me and keep my commandments and do them, though there were of you cast out into the uttermost part of heaven. He didn't say the uttermost part of the earth. That caught my eye. That's worth studying out right there if anybody wants to study that out. But Nehemiah is he's in a state of brokenness, and he's in a state of humility. So let's write that down. Maybe he's going to show us. Maybe he's going to show us a pattern. He's in a state of broken humility. That broken humility is going to give him courage, I believe. It's going to give him strength. Let's go to chapter 2, verse 6. Brother Tommy, if you would, I'm going to go to chapter 4 after this. So I want you to read 4:12, but I'm going to read 2:6. Excuse me. Oh, pardon me. So Nehemiah goes before the king Artaxerxes. So Artaxerxes was the king of Persia. Okay? So he goes before him. His countenance is sad. And the king says, what's up with you, dude? He says, well, this. But he found favor in the eyes of the king. Now, this is a king that has his people in bondage.
Yep.
Right? So he finds favor in the eyes of the king. And he says, I want to go. And basically, I want to go fix this thing. And the king says, okay, you can go. So verse 6, and the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, for how long shall thy journey be, and when will you return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. He basically said, I'm going to be gone this amount of time. Moreover, I said unto the king, if it please the king, let letters be given me to the governors beyond the river, that they may convey me over till I come into Judah. He needs letters to get past the royalty and the leadership that Artaxerxes has in place. And a letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest. We don't have time to study all this stuff out, but there's some cool stuff in there. He's got a letter to the keeper of the forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the palace, which appertain to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. He's going to have his provisions. He's going to have the wood to do what? To build the gates, to build the wall, and to build the house. Three things that he's going to need to do what? To dwell in. Okay? Again, we don't have time to study all this, but there's some cool stuff in it. And the king granted me according to the good hand of my God upon me. Why is the king that's got them in bondage doing this? Back to my excitement right now. Because of God. It's because of God. It's not because Nehemiah has the power in and of himself to force the king's hand. It's because God has gone before him. That's one thing we have to remember. we do have to look at that bigger whiteboard, Sister Kelly, and it's going to need to flip on both sides and do all kinds of cool stuff. Might even write for us, who knows? But we need to remember that in our own lives. Then I came to the governors beyond the river and gave them the king's letters. Now the king had sent captains of the army and horsemen with me. Here we go. Pastor always said Sinbad and Toboggan, and it's hard for me to read this without saying that. When Sanballat, the Horonite, and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, heard of it, it grieved them exceedingly that there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of Israel. So I came to Jerusalem and was there for 3 days. Nehemiah has made it to Jerusalem, correct? He came and he stayed there 3 days. And I arose in the night, I and some few men with me. He was not alone. He had a few guys with him. There were a few guys with him in that foxhole. Okay? Neither told I any man what God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem. Neither was there any beast with me, save the beast that I rode upon. So Nehemiah has made it to Jerusalem, but he hasn't told them exactly what he's going to do. But he had a vision. He had a plan. He had goals. He knew, I'm going to get there, and I'm going to fix this situation. And I went out by night by the gate of the valley. We're going to skip all the gates until we get to 17. Then I said unto them, Ye see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come and let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach, or be no more ashamed. Then I told them of the hand of my God, which was good upon me, as also the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, Let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. Now this is one man that cares about his city and cares about his people. And he was focused and he was steadfast. And he went, and the king allowed him to go. He had the authority to go. He had the authority in the letters that he was given. He had the tenacity. He had the focus. And he got there, and then what did he do in verse 17? He said, Men, Jerusalem lies waste. We are going to rise up, and we are going to build back our city. You know what he was doing? He wasn't waiting for somebody else to come along and build back his city. He said, This is my house. My house. We're going to build this back. So what happened? So what did, y'all help me with this. Okay, I didn't study all this stuff out. God gives it to us when we're up here speaking. So what assets did Nehemiah have at this point? What has he shown us? What assets does he have? Anybody?
So, his greatest asset is his friendship with the king.
Yeah.
Okay, but what's inside of him?
Oh,
Courage.
God.
God, courage. I've already got courage up here.
Yeah.
What else? What has he shown us here?
Strength.
Determination.
Strength, determination.
Motivated.
That's good.
Yeah.
All of them are good. He's determined. He's motivated.
Passion.
Passion.
Warrior spirit.
Somebody said passion, right? I don't know if anybody said compassion. I thought they did, but he does. He obviously has compassion. That goes with humility. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He's focused. I love the word steadfast. Y'all know that, so I'm going to put it up there just because I can.
He has a clear plan.
Okay?
About a warrior's heart.
That'll go along with the warrior spirit. He's wise. He's wise. I'm gonna put this. He has the ability to rally the people.
Leader.
He's a leader, yes. But he's one guy. He's just one guy that came on the scene. And now they've grasped hold of his passion, his enthusiasm. Got charisma. Let's go with that. He's charismatic, and we're not talking about non-denominational churches. He's got all this stuff going for him. What does it do? That's the word. He has inspiration. And because of his inspiration, he inspires the people. That's the word I was looking for. I didn't know what I was looking for. All of this stuff is accurate. All of it is true. But he inspires these people. And what do they say? Then I told him of the hand of my God, which was good upon me. He also knew who he was. As also the king's words he had spoken unto me, and they said what? They said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. You got us in 4? About ready? Hold on just a minute. So we could, had a hard time keeping my eyes open reading chapter 3 the other night. But here's a little taste of it. You ready? Okay, you ready? Then Eliashib, the high priest, rose up with his brethren, the priests, and they builded the sheep gate. Even unto the tower of Maad they sanctified it. And next unto him builded the men of Jericho. And next to them this, and next to that, and next to this. And it's a whole chapter. These guys are building here. You know, it's kind of like we got a wall here. If we put a chair there, put somebody there, we'd fill the breach. Maybe that's what we're doing. We'd fill the breach. That's what we're building up. Must have been some big chunks going out of this wall. If you read that, there are a lot of people, families, tribes, groups, and they're scattered all around the city, and they're working on this wall. All right, go ahead, jump us on. 4:12 through 23.
And it came to pass that when the Jews which dwelt of them came, and they said unto us 10 times, all the places whence you shall return to us, they will be upon you. Therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall, and the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords.
So he's saying here, the Jews have come and said, okay, you're working on this wall. I see you and all these men working on this wall, but they're going to come and attack you, basically. So you got to be aware that they're going to come and attack you. So you got to be prepared. You've got to have, we talk about watchmen on the wall. You know, I think I shared the other night a dream I had about Haley, or I know I shared it with her. But, as a father standing between her and someone that wanted to destroy her, I'm a watchman on the wall. Okay, that's a watchman on the wall. So he's had Jews come to him and say, all right, you're doing this, but you got to be aware there's an enemy out there that wants to stop you, what you're doing, and basically take your life. So go ahead, Brother Tom. Therefore I sat in the lower places behind the wall.
Therefore I set in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows.
So what are swords, spears, and bows?
Weapons.
Weapons. So they've got their weaponry. Go ahead.
And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles, and to the rulers, and to the rest of the people, be not you afraid of them.
See, he's inspiring again. He's talking to nobles and rulers. Right? This man has confidence. This man has a vision. He has focus. He has self-confidence. But the greatest confidence he has is in his God, because God's been proven in his life over and over. And he knew things were right. Just like Joshua, when you get to Joshua 7, I think it is, they lose men in battle for the first time. Mm-hmm. And Joshua goes to the Lord. He tears his clothes, he's in sackcloth and ashes, and he says, what happened? And he said, you got sin in the camp. And we know the story, right? Most of us know the story. Achan God had given Joshua instructions. Joshua gave those to everybody. Achan was the one guy that didn't listen. And when Achan was found out, you theologians, tell me what happened to Achan.
He died.
He died.
He
Simply put,
Give him.
who else died with him?
got
His
his
whole
own, his
family,
family.
animals and everything.
Everything associated with him. Now, did they kill him in the camp? No, they took him
No, they took
outside.
him out.
Everything. Took all their animals. They didn't even want to keep their sheep and their goats and their ribeyes and eat them. They didn't want to have anything to do with the unclean. Took them out and smoked them.
They didn't play.
They didn't play, Brother Tommy. All right, go ahead.
And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and the rulers and the rest of the people, be ye not afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible. Fight for your brother and your sons and your daughters, your wives, and your house.
Okay, stop right there, because this got my attention. Now, who is he talking to again? Read that list to us.
To remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren.
Okay, hold on. All right, so fight for your brothers,
Your sons,
sons,
your daughters,
daughters,
your wives, and your houses.
wives, and houses. It doesn't say fight for your husbands. Does it say anywhere, say fight for your husbands? Why? He's talking to the husbands. He's talking to the men. Fight for your brothers. Fight for your wives. Fight for your children. Fight for your house. That's what we're here to do. We're here to fight for our family. Fight for this house. We had a fight for this house, by the way. God prevailed. There was no way on the face of the earth. That's all I'm going to say. We have to fight. What's going on in our country? I don't watch any news. Y'all know that. Just chaos. Chaos on TV. Bunch of nonsense. The bottom line is we need the presence of God. When we have the true presence of God, then if there's a true presence in my life, I'll see me. See me. And then in Ginger will see Ginger. Okay, and when I can look in the mirror and see me, she can look in the mirror and see her. And when we can humble ourselves and first admit to ourselves, I got to change here or I'm wrong in this situation, then admit that to each other. We just took weeds out of the garden. See, it's my garden. It's her garden too. See, he's talking to husbands here because there's an order of God. We know this. We were taught this stuff for years and years. Don't think anything's changed just because we're in 2019. We're still in order of God. And when we're in that perfect order, there's so much peace and harmony and love. There's just a free flow of love. Man, when you're at that perfect order of God, there's just a free flow of love. It's just beautiful. Go ahead, Brother Tony.
It came to pass when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and that God had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, every one unto his work. It came to pass from the time forth that half of my servants wrought in the work, and the other half of them held both the spears, the shields, the bows, and the agricultures, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah.
So what is Nehemiah got going on? I didn't see this before. He's not talking about everybody else at this point. Who's he talking about?
His servants.
He's talking about his house. Now his house is important because his house is, Jeremy, would you stand up and walk over in that corner, please? Just, yeah. So see, Jeremy was just working on his house, on his part of the wall. He had his servants over here. Read that again. Half were doing what?
Half of them held both the spears, the shields, the bows,
Uh-huh.
the hanger guns, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah.
So half of them had their weapons and they were watching. The other half were working. So Nehemiah has got his stuff in order. He didn't leave that wall Because what happens when you leave that wall unprotected? Then you let down everyone else. Then the enemy can come in and destroy you. Come back, brother. Thank you. But he had his house in order. So he was watching and working at the same time. Why? Because he's got a mission. He's on a mission from God. Yes. He's got a mission to restore that wall. Now for us, we know if we love the book of Revelation, that we see the holy city, and we see the gates and the wall and the house, the mansion is John 14. We are that. So for us, we got to have our weaponry up, and we got to keep working on our house. But the weaponry are the weapons of the Spirit. So we see with spiritual eyes. We see beyond so we can live beyond. We look beyond so we can live beyond. But this is a tangible example. I wish I was an artist that could draw a wall up here. But this is a tangible example of how valuable one family and one person is in their working on that wall. So we've all heard, and I heard this when we were growing up playing ball, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And that's true, Brother David. When you're playing ball, it's bad for a team member, and we've all seen this, for a strong team member to put down a weaker team member. It's actually stupid and prideful, because you want to strengthen that weaker team member. Now, sometimes the team member needs to go sit down, because their heart's not into it anyway. I played softball in Raleigh, and I asked a guy that I worked with to come play. He had played college ball. Worst thing that ever happened was his first at bat, he went yard. He smoked that ball. Worst thing that ever happened. He played with us for 3 seasons. Best player I ever played with. I played first base and pitched. He would take that ball. He played shortstop. He played catcher at Maine, and that's back when Maine had a good team. If he bobbled the ball the least little bit at shortstop, I would just kind of suck it up, because he put a little extra mustard on it, and that ball would come over there doing this at about 90, 95 miles an hour, and I'm just sitting there going, don't know where it's going to go. I usually caught it, though. That was like one of my strengths. Believe it or not, I couldn't run very fast. I know that's shocking. I hit everything to right center. I couldn't pull the ball at all, but I could dig it out of the dirt. It was good that you could dig it out of the dirt with him. Worst thing that happened, he went yard on the first at bat. So the rules of this league, you had to turn in the roster 15 minutes before the start of the game. Myself and another guy shared managerial duties. We played spring ball and fall ball. So I would manage one and he'd manage the next. And this was not a glamorous thing, because you had to, well, we were always the first 2 there anyway, so that's why we stepped up and did it. But you had to get everybody together, you had to turn in the roster, etc. And we were always looking around 15 minutes before the game started to see if he was going to be there or not, our best player. By the time we got into the 3rd season, I hated ever asking him to be on the team. It wasn't like we were winning any championships. I mean, we won some, and we got smoked some. We really got smoked some. So, everybody's important to the wall. That's my point with this one. Go ahead.
They would build on the wall, they that bear burdens with those that will that ladder. Everyone with one of his hands walk and work, with the other hand held a weapon.
Now, what does that mean to us today? That would be like, say, a contractor's working at my house, and in one hand he's got a 20-ounce hammer, and the other hand he's got an AR-15. That's basically what he's telling us. Or in one hand he's got a nail gun. Let's make it even easier on him. And the other hand he's got a 9mm. Right? That's what he's saying. They got the weaponry up and they're doing the work. They're doing what? They're building the wall for their families and for everybody else. Go ahead.
Well, the builders, every one had his sword girdled by his side, and so build. He that sounded the trumpet was by me.
Now that's important. He that sounded the trumpet was by who? He was by the leader. What happened when God gave Gideon instructions? What was one of the instructions? Gideon was greatly outnumbered. 300 men to tens of thousands. They never had to pull their sword. They never had to shed blood. Because what did he tell them to do? Break the pitcher so the light would shine and blow the trumpet. And what happened to the enemy? The enemy got confused, and what did the enemy do? Killed themselves. And all they had to do was march right in, right through, sit down and be at rest the whole time. Because why? Again, they heard from God and they had a leader that was following God's instructions. Those are crazy. Most of y'all know the story. So they started out with how many men? Was it 20,000? 10? I can't remember right now. He got them down to 300 men against tens of thousands. 300 guys. And then he said, okay, now that I got you down to 300 and it just looks totally crazy, now these are the instructions I'm going to give you. Really? That's what we're going to do? We're going to stand up here with a bunch of clay pitchers over candles, and when the trumpets play, we're going to break the clay pitchers, and the sound is going to confuse the enemy. You've got to be kidding me. Nope. That's what we're going to do. And they won. They won. Go ahead.
These men all followed the leader, though, and they were chosen. You know, because they did not qualm, they just were obedient.
You know what? You're right, and they passed the test. So, they passed the test. There were multiple tests where God purged and pruned.
Yes.
What did he do? He got the weakness out. He got the weakness out. That's good, Brother Tommy. Go ahead.
And I said unto the nobles and the rulers and the rest of the people, the work is great and large, and we are separated upon the wall, one far from another. In what place, therefore, hear ye the sound of the trumpet? Resort ye thither unto us, God shall fight for us.
So again, this is a huge job. We are separated. Look, they didn't have walkie-talkies and they didn't have cell phones. He said, we're all separated. We're around this wall. They couldn't just yell at each other. When you hear the trumpet, come together and we're going to win. What does the trumpet represent? God's voice. Go ahead.
So we labored in the work, and half of them held the spears from the rising of the morning till the stars appeared. Likewise at the same time said I unto the people, that every one with his servant lodged within Jerusalem, that in the night they may be the guard to us, and later on the day. But neither I nor my brethren, or my servants, nor the men of the guard which followed me, none of us put off our clothes, save that every one put them off before washing.
So that was good, actually. They were aware that some of them stunk, so they washed their clothes on occasion. That was very thoughtful of him. What did he do? This dude was focused. He had a job to do, and he's going to see it done because it's bigger than him. That job was bigger than him. But look at how vitally important every person was and every family was to that job. Just like every person sitting in this place, in this circle. Every chair. Every person vitally important to fill the breach. He had broken humility and strength, determination, motivation, steadfast, focus. He had a clear plan. He had passion. He had compassion. This circle is filled with people with compassion. It is. It's filled with people with compassion. A warrior spirit. Charisma, he's a leader. Pastor and I talked many times. He strengthened me and ministered to me. I don't know how many. You can't quantify that. You can't even quantify it. He told me, he said, brother, not everybody's an overcomer. That's true. Not everybody's an overcomer. That's okay. There may be areas in my life that I haven't overcome that other people have. There may be areas of your life that you haven't, that I have, and others have. That's all right. As long as we operate in truthfulness and honesty and integrity, that's what binds people together. That's what builds trust. That's what builds trust. Trust is a precious gift that we've been given. And we are to value that. We are to value that. Let's go to chapter 6 and then we're finished. I'm going to read now, Brother Tony. Now it came to pass when Sinbad and Toboggan and Geshem the Arabian, they picked up another friend along the way. And the rest of our enemies, they were all enemies to them. Now if you went back and read this, you would see Toboggan and Sinbad were there the whole time. They were there the whole time. They were outside the wall. But he never let that sway him. He never let that get him off course. He kept his eyes on the prize. He kept his eyes on the vision. And the rest of our enemies heard that I had builded the wall and that there was no breach left, though at that time I had not set up the doors upon the gates. So he still had more work to do.
Yeah.
That Sanballat and Geshem sent unto me, saying, Come, let us meet together in some one of the villages in the plain of Ono. Oh no. But they thought to do me mischief. And I sent messengers unto them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease, whilst I leave it and come down to you? Yet they sent unto me 4 times after this sort, and I answered them after the same manner. So that's 5 times that they were sent, that he was sent messengers by these leaders of the enemy camp to try to do what?
Lure him away.
What'd you say?
Lure him away.
Lure him away.
Distracted.
Distraction. Lure away. I'm going to use another word, which the cemetery, they probably get red-faced. Trying to seduce. Jesus said our words are spirit and they're life. Our words are intimacy. His words were trying to seduce him from his task and get him distracted off course so that he could not fulfill his destiny at that time on this earth. We can't get seduced or lured. Those alluring things that can get us off course. Because we're here for a reason. We're here for a purpose. Every one of us sitting here, every one of us is here for a reason. We're a purpose. We're not a mistake. There is no one here that is a mistake. Every one of us is here for a reason. And every one of us is important. Let's go to verse 15. Then we're going to wrap it up. Yeah. Verse 15. So the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month Elul, in 52 days. So they worked on this for 52 days. That's interesting. How many weeks in a year? 52. Just interesting. Right? It is 52. Okay. They worked on it 52 days and rebuilt the wall. Less than 2 months. We got a new church to build. We've already gone and walked the land. Now it's another reason I got to make my list of why I've got to have a 4-wheel drive pickup, Brother Josh, because we couldn't go where we needed to that day. You know, I had my 2-wheel drive. And, well, it's just another reason, you know, it's important for the ministry. I got to get my 4-wheel drive pickup.
Okay, I got 4 wheels.
But we've walked the land. Brother Joshua's already pulled up pictures and been looking at stuff. We have some work to do to get ready to do that. But the mindset is a mindset of courage and inspiration. We had a new church to build. Where's our little buddy? Look at this. I didn't plan to go here, but we'll do this. When was this made? We found it one time.
Oh, no, I think.
Oh, no. May 5th, 09.
John's birthday.
It was the first time, May of 09 was the first time we saw this. Okay? Who's got a sword and a hammer in their hands? Who's got a sword and a hammer? Who has a mind to work? Because we're going to build this. We are going to build. It might not look exactly like this floor looks, but the vision is still alive. And the vision is to be fulfilled. So the wall was finished, and it came to pass that when all of our enemies heard thereof, and all the heathen that were about us saw these things, they were much cast down in their own eyes, for they perceived that this work was wrought of our God. How many of you have seen God show up in your life? You knew it was God.
Amen.
And you knew that other people, they had to know it was God. Because there's no way this could happen of these hands, of this strength. It had to come from a higher source. We could talk all night. I could get the microphone out like we did New Year's Eve and just pass it around, and we'd be here in the morning still talking about that. How he kept us. Moreover, in those days, the nobles of Judah sent many letters unto Tobiah, and the letters of Tobiah came unto them, for there were many in Judah sworn unto him, because he was the son-in-law of Shechaniah the son of Arah, and his son Johanan had taken the daughter of Meshullam the son of Berechiah. That was pretty good. And also they reported his good deeds before me, and uttered my words to him, and Tobiah sent letters to put me in fear. And that's where we're going to stop tonight. None of this, absolutely none of this, took Nehemiah off focus of what he was doing, of his task. Nothing. I have this. Here, let me take a look. I'm supposed to let you see it. So I have that. Okay? What's that made of? Epoxy. It's got wood inside of it. All right? What did it take to make that? You had to have the supplies. You had to have the tools.
Creativity.
You had to have the creativity, the creative idea.
Vision.
You had to have vision. It took time.
Talent.
Sir?
You say talent?
Talent, attention to detail, and likely had to overcome something in the process. Right?
Trial and error.
I mean, probably. You had to sand it down, so it didn't start out looking like that. You had to polish it up, just like God does to our lives. So I'm honored, and I mean it, that she sent me a picture of that. And I looked at it, I'm like, wow, that's cool. And what was my question back to you? How much? I want to be your first customer. Because I know this young lady has a lot of creativity inside of her. A wealth of creativity. A wealth of compassion. Definitely determined and motivated. But the compassion and the love and the broken humility, all these attributes that we read about Nehemiah, we could go around the circle and we could point to our brothers and sisters and our children. Find this in yourselves, because you're needed to build the wall. Know your importance to build the wall. Every person has different gifts and talents, and every person is needed. That's all I got.